I'm so glad you're recording this and I'm not.
Put this over here so I don't have to pick it up. Put this on top of this so I don't have to pick it up from the table.
No, don't touch the table.
Oh my goodness. Hey Julia, how's it going?
Hi, nice to see you.
I don't know, my microphone is so sensitive that if I put my hands on it,
I know.
it'll sound like distant thunder.
So right now we're going to remember that, but in the future we'll forget. And
yes.
You'll hear distant thunder.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can tell we don't have a guest this time. It's 29th of December.
Yeah, we're in Carmen's studio.
Yes, my studio, so to speak. And if anybody notices fun things they'd like to know more about, put it in the comments. And, you know, I do answer comments to the extent that we get them. Absolutely. So
here we are. We have a plan for today.
See, this is my OCD-ness.
Okay,
I am slightly
so there's
disturbed.
We're talking about a centimeter difference in.
Well, no, but he had fallen off.
Right, but this was also, you also moved
Yes,
this.
I moved this because it was not
censored.
in the right place.
Yes, we're less than a centimeter.
I know, but it's I'm not
taking a Post-it note out and disturbed the metal thing.
I'm not particularly OCD, I don't think, but what I am OCD about is very specific.
As an expert on OCD, I can tell you have a little bit.
Yes, I know I have a little bit.
Because also, by the way, it doesn't make sense to put a little Post-it note container on top of a bigger Post-it note container and then put a thing on top of the Post-it note container, making it difficult to remove the Post-it note
you know what this,
without disturbing
But you know
anything.
what this is for? This little froggy guy, he's got a crown so that you can put a business card in there.
Right, but what about the Post-it notes? How are you going to use the Post-it notes?
It's not important, really. You used to be able to put a business card in there. Oh, well, never mind. Okay. So, Julia, by the way, spent about, 7 weeks living here?
A good chunk of time.
6 weeks, 7 weeks.
A great gift from Carmen.
Oh, and most because Julia's in the process, shall we say this, of moving to Virginia.
Yep.
And from California. And there was obviously it would be almost impossible to arrange for a rental house exactly right.
Well, we thought we had, and then we hadn't, But anyway, Carmen very nicely offered her place, and we made sure to check the whole thing for bugs and everything.
Oh, okay, yeah, there are no, not to my knowledge, there are no bugs in here. But luckily, just luckily for good relations, I was away like 3/4 of that time, I would say. Because I have a home in Texas, and when you see that the other recording place, that's Texas.
Yeah, and I was recording sometimes from here, so it was topsy-turvy. But now we can be together, which is exciting. Yay!
I know. Hey! So anyway, I thought we would, or no, you thought, we both thought.
No, you thought.
Yes.
That we would talk about whatever came up is our best memories of
our best memories of the past year,
and then I thought. We have to include memories of the future.
Yes.
Obviously.
Right.
So we're going to do best memories of 2023 and 2024.
Exactly. I don't know that I have too many 2024 memories. I mean, I sort of went to bed with that thought in mind, but I don't think lucid dreaming
I think they will emerge as we speak.
Okay. All right. And I will say, by the way, that sitting down and thinking about your favorite memories of the past year is a really good activity. It at least it made me happy to recall so many fun times.
Yeah, me too. And I actually went through my calendar to remind myself.
I did the same thing.
Yeah, I was like, oh wow, right.
Exactly. How could I forget that? So I want to start with one that I had in June, where I got to go to Wells, England in May, and was introduced to a woman, 90 years old, and I'm mentioning the age because that's a theme, 90 years old, who her husband was a Church of England minister, and she lives in a beautiful, like 16th century home in England, and she went to Oxford and personally knew J.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. And she was a happy, cheerful, buoyant person, and she told many stories about being in Oxford in the 1950s, and that was just an exquisite hour and a half that I got to spend with her. So
awesome.
I love that.
Awesome.
Your turn.
My turn? I have a list here that I'm not allowed to touch because it's on the table. This is going to sound weird because it doesn't sound like a positive event.
Yeah.
But it's a really important memory. It's shaped the year, and it ended up being a positive event. So on January 4th of 2023, there was this big storm where I used to live in Northern California, and this giant redwood that had a trunk about this in diameter.
I know you love those big trees.
I know. But they have these really narrow root bases, or shallow root bases. Anyway, the wind came in a direction that was unusual and just, boom, came right down on what we used to call my husband's studio. And it was half an hour after he was sleeping on the couch.
Oh, my.
Where it came, it split the couch in two.
I don't think you ever told me this detail.
Yeah, he was sleeping on the couch for the first time in his life in that studio. And he actually had the thought, this is so great, why don't I sleep here often? I'm just going to fall asleep for the rest of the night. But then he said, no, I'll get up. And the tree split the couch in two.
Oh, my goodness.
And that was still dealing with the repercussions of that, by the way. But the amazing piece of it is it shaped the rest of the year. Like, okay, maybe we're going to move. Maybe we're going to get my husband a new studio. Maybe we're going to take the insurance money and reinvest it in the bathroom. It sounds mundane, but it felt like a real reminder that the things that change your life come from the outside so often that you don't plan them.
Yes.
And to me, that was such a delightful wake-up call. Like, by the way, all the stuff that happens that really shapes your life, you have no control over. It just shows up.
Exactly.
So that's my beginning of one of my memories.
Wow, that's very powerful.
Yeah.
The second thing I was going to say, and I'm still going to say it, so I'm not really sure why I used the past tense there.
Well, it's good to know you're following a plan,
yes,
Carmen.
But was all the time that I spent with people in their 90s this year. I'm 69, and those of my friends who are in the same cohort, if their parents are still alive, their parents are in their 90s, almost without exception. And I have one friend up in New York. She calls her parents the ancient peas.
Peas for parents?
Peas for parents. So in the summer, she's in Manhattan, we drove to upstate New York and visited with her ancient peas, and it was lovely. I already mentioned, and whose name I cannot remember, but the lovely woman in the Tolkien house, not really a Tolkien house, but another friend I have has a mother who's 98.
Wow.
Another friend just lost her mother at the age of, I think, 96.
Mm-hmm.
And I just spent a lot of time, another friend of mine, his dad is 93, and we went and spent a weekend with him, and at the end of the weekend, he said, Carmen, I treasure, he goes, I really enjoy talking to you, Carmen. You are a deep thinker. And I was like, oh, yes. So, it's hard to say something to a 93-year-old that will have any kind of unique or novel impression. But it was really, I think, a blessing. And I'm sure I left some out, to spend time with all of these people at that age. And it was just, not planned, but it was very meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that reminds me of something that's not on my list.
Okay, all the better, all the better.
And was very recent. In fact, I'm going to skip around in time.
Okay.
The past year. And I just came back from visiting with my family.
Yes,
in the Chicago
not
area.
Quite in their 90s because
Not yet.
you are younger than
Right.
I am.
That's right. So, yeah, so just turning 85 and turning 89 or 88. Um, and then those are my biological parents, and then there's extra parents. They're all parents. Okay, they're all parents. Anyway, um, and I converted, of course, but my family didn't convert.
You
So,
converted to Judaism.
right,
Yes.
but my family didn't convert. So we celebrate Christmas when I go back to my mom's house, and we're a family that accrues. We never, ever, ever slough off anyone.
Mm.
So I have an ex-husband who comes to Christmas, who's also Jewish, but comes to Christmas. My dad and his wife come to my mom and her wife's Christmas. If you join our family at any point, you will be showing up
Mm-hmm. At the various
at all the
holidays.
holidays,
Yes.
for better or worse. And so at one point, my sister, who's very eccentric, and you think I'm eccentric, but I'm telling you, very eccentric.
Yes.
And was just doing her thing where she starts dancing in front of the Christmas tree.
So this is genetic.
Yes, she's like dancing, and it's a good thing, Carmen. And she's like stretching and dancing, and I go, and I think in the past I normally would have triangulated and sort of competitively said, Jen, what are you doing? And even though I would want to do that
Right,
too.
right.
But like, okay, maybe I'm like 54 and I could be more grown up. So I was like, Jen, I'll dance with you. So I started dancing, and then
Yeah.
we didn't have any music on, but we started dancing. We're surrounded by elderly people
Uh-huh.
and ex-husbands and stuff. And my father comes and says, "Can I dance with you?" And he's, gonna be what, 89, and he's 88. He's starting to get down. And then we ask Alexa to turn on Celebration by Kool and the Gang, and
Oh,
then
yes.
it really gets going.
Uh-huh.
Karen comes in, my stepmom, my mom's wife. And even my dad's wife, Joan, who is one of the more proper people you'll ever meet, comes in and quietly taps her feet, which was the equivalent of her throwing off her clothes. And it was just a delightful moment of joy and connection.
Yeah.
And that feels like the spirit of Christmas.
Right. I know. Well, speaking of dancing, on my list of a great time that I had this year was I spent a weekend in Idaho.
Mm.
Doing some filming for a documentary
Iron
that's
Butterfly.
underway by Iron Butterfly. And we were all female leaders. That's what the documentary is about, women in national security. And we rented this big old house with, that overlooked the Grand Tetons, and it was lovely. And I would think, okay, here we are. I don't know, there's 10 of us or something like that, women, all had reached senior positions in the intelligence community, and I thought, how are we different than how are we behaving differently than a group of men?
Right.
And
Then, what would it look like?
Yeah. And then I thought, well, we're dancing. That's one of the things that we're doing differently. That I just can't imagine that. I mean, if you guys have a story to tell us about how you dance as a group when you get together, we'd love to hear it. But and that also reminds me of something. I have friends, and they go out. The women go out for lunch for the people's birthdays, and then if it's a round number birthday, then they go out to dinner.
Yeah.
And all the women have a male partner, so I go, do the guys do the same thing? No. And, I don't know why. Why wouldn't they do the same thing?
Because they're oriented differently.
It's peculiar.
Guys don't like to eat and talk. Women like to eat and talk. There's a different, I mean, on average. Okay, sorry, we're not analyzing the situation. We're just talking about memories. But
No,
yeah,
you can analyze it, yeah.
But I just think, there's this thing about how women, when they are under stress, or they tend to befriend, right? So they make friends, have a community, and they tend to each other and themselves. That's what they do to deal with stress. Men will be more active. Like they might, for a birthday, like, let's go play basketball, or let's do a thing. Then they might have these deep conversations as they're doing a thing. But eating is not doing a thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So
interesting.
I just think I don't know if it's cultural. I think it's probably cultural.
Yeah.
But when you said the thing about men not dancing, one of my favorite memories, of 2023 is also recent about dancing, and it's about men dancing.
Oh, okay.
And it's about men in Iran dancing.
Uh-huh.
And an article came out maybe 3 weeks ago or something about how in Iran you're not supposed to dance or play music that you could dance to
Okay.
publicly. But these men are having basically resistance dances. And they're
Oh.
singing and clapping and dancing joyful songs. And some women are doing it too, but they didn't put any women in the article for fear that they would just be killed or something. But I don't understand it. But the men were like celebrating life, and it was becoming a popular TikTok meme to have
Huh.
men dancing in Iran, celebrating life, singing this sort of protest song, which is really not a protest song, it's about joy.
Interesting. Well, you've motivated me to say the thought entered my mind as you were talking about that when uh, thinking about a memory for 2024.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that this is the thought that entered my mind as you were speaking.
Yeah, see?
Something good will happen in 2024 for Iranians.
I think so too.
I don't, and by good I mean that it will lead to more tranquility and peacefulness
Yep.
for for the people in that society. I'm not going to say anything more than that,
Yeah.
but that's what I would mean by good. That's what I would hope for. So
Yeah.
that just entered my mind, and I think one of the things that Julie and I often talk about is that we all have this experience of a thought entering our mind, and we rarely do anybody ask, well, how did it get there, or why did it get
It
there?
just shows up.
It just shows up. And I
Yeah.
think one of the things Julia strongly believes is that, and I've learned to agree with her, that when a thought enters your mind, pay attention to it.
Yeah.
It's 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 not a hobo or a lollygagger. It's just decided to come in there for a reason.
Well, and so that what showed up in my mind after that, also
Yeah,
not on my list,
good.
is in 2023 I interviewed my father. I'm doing this series of interviews of friends and
Mhm.
family just to understand them better, find out what brings them
Mhm.
hope. And I interviewed my father, and he started talking about physics and how he gets ideas in physics because he's a physicist and he loves physics. And he says, "Well, my biggest pieces of creativity are just things that showed up. They just came to me. And I'm in the shower, or all the stories that scientists tell. He tells the same stories. I'm in the shower, or I'm pooping, or whatever it is. I'm doing something that's not related to sitting
Mhm.
there and going, oh, I have to figure this out.
Yes.
And it gets put in your mind, and of course I let him know that this is something that sort of people who study insight know, and creativity. We
Yes.
know that this happens. But then he went on to say, I asked him, so what is your passion? What does this have to do with your passion? And he said, well, I wouldn't call physics my passion. I wouldn't call discovery my passion. He said, what would give me the most joy? And this is where I was most touched by this conversation. He said, what would give me most joy is if I could help someone younger avoid years of pain.
Yeah,
If,
I
who,
remember when he said that. Yes.
yeah, who's dealing with obsessive compulsive
Yeah.
disorder, which is
Right.
his big bugaboo. And he broke down crying, and I thought that was one of my favorite moments of
Mm.
2023, and personally because he's putting um, sort of the healing of the human mind ahead of physics, which is something that I've really not heard him say, and
Mm.
also is sort of symbolic for me in the academic quest,
Yes.
you know, of putting healing of humanity ahead of being right or
Right.
being the first to discover something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You just made that when you said healing of humanity. I was reminded of my sadness when people think of the national security community and or the intelligence community and then just think so many people think that it's antithetical or opposed
Yeah.
to healing humanity.
Yes.
And I I mean I cannot I obviously cannot deny all the bad things that happen because of national security, myopic national security views. I can't deny that. But I continue to strive and hope that we, the national security community, is not me anymore, but that it can continue to improve. So what it does is more consistent
Yeah.
with healing humanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why, I've been rewatching that episode, that the last one with Lisa,
Yeah.
about what she does and the poem that she
Another
wrote
favorite moment.
about Afghanistan. And I, um, when you said that your dad cried, I mean, I think other men will cry next year.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually the thought that entered my mind. It's kind of like, what other men will
Mm-hmm.
cry
Mm-hmm.
next year,
Mm-hmm.
and for what reason? And I
Mm-hmm.
hope some of them are tears of joy.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Well, okay, and with that, I keep looking as you were talking.
Yes, I have so many
Is it
things.
okay if I pick this up and
Yes,
remove it from its specially
yes,
placed location?
yes, yes.
Okay, so this is Milieu.
Milou,
Milieu.
Milou.
Milieu.
Otherwise
Tintin's
known as
dog.
Snowy in English, but in French, he's called Milou.
Which I always think of as Milieu.
Yeah. Huh?
Because this is Carmen's favorite dog, Tintin's dog,
Yes.
and favorite sort of identity creature.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes. What is that called in Harry Potter? My spirit animal.
This is your spirit animal. They're very
Yes.
specific, not just a dog, but a specific
Yeah.
dog. Anyway, I think of you as a milieu creature,
Oh.
one who understands context and the environment.
Well, I try to. I mean, I'm fascinated by it. Yeah.
Well, exactly, but by saying you try to and you're fascinated by it, that's part of understanding the context. That if you actually know something, that's useless.
Many of these things. So can you get that little
Okay.
the dream? That's a dream catcher. That is.
Are there little people or babies?
Yeah, I forget. This was given to me as a present. It is
can they see this?
Yeah. It is a Native American thing, and it's an individual. Looks like a woman with lots of other little individuals on it, and I think it's kind of a dream thing. But a very dear friend of mine gave it to me. He died of pancreatic cancer many years ago, but he gave it to me, and he said, Carmen, you have so many ideas all the time. You need a little idea catcher.
Oh, perfect.
And that's why he gave it to me. And a lot of these things that are here, all these doodads, used to be in my office at CIA. And I had this view that when you come to visit someone in their office, you visit the high muckamuck in their office, the person whose office it is has all this stuff to play with, pens and stuff, to kind of occupy their fingers and relieve nerves or whatever. But the person visiting you has nothing. So I always had all these little guys lined up at the visitor's end of my desk.
So you can have one. And
so they could pick them up and play with them.
This is a therapist trick.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay,
so having grown up in a therapist's
home, back here.
My moms are therapists. There's always things in the office that you can play with, and that special clients, certain clients. Like, in fact, we recently had a discussion with my moms. They wanted to move a dictionary. No, one of my clients loves to come up and look for like a random word. It has to be there. It's like,
so do they share the same office?
Yes.
Oh.
And so it's like, it has to be a shared space with the special things of all the people. And yeah. Well, so this reminds me of a 2024 memory of, and I'm pretty excited about this.
Okay.
I think people are going to start, I can see that there's going to be generally more acceptance of joy. And people are going to start wearing brighter colors.
Oh, nice.
Clothes are going to be, for women and men,
nice.
Clothes are going to be like not olive drab and navy, but they're actually in gray, but they're going to be like bright colors that we can enjoy.
Yes.
Almost like a 70s sensibility.
Oh, nice.
For colors and flowers and such. And that'll go to cars. And so cars will stop being like three colors, slate, gray, white, and brown, or whatever they are now, black. Right. And you'll actually have different colored cars that people love, because there will be a recognition that we can't live in grief forever for COVID and for all the things that have happened. So you think
the fact that people are wearing such sort of monochromatic clothes has to do with our psychological
Oh, yes.
mood that
Oh,
we're.
plenty of studies on that. I think color of cars, color of clothes reflects the
Oh,
mood. And I really think that's ready to change. People are starting to realize you actually can't, like, yes, there's plenty of things to be upset about. Yes, there's plenty of things that are bad, but, like, it's not good for the human psyche
yes,
to not strive for joy.
right. Well, I agree. I mean, I see an early sign of that in the emergence of a lot more orange, bright
Yes.
orange
Yes.
cars in particular. I mean,
Yes.
I love
That's
orange.
just the
It's
beginning.
my favorite color.
Wait till the purple cars come out.
Oh.
I'm so excited with sparkles and flowers.
Well, I mean, it is kind of weird why we're all so
It's bizarre. We all look.
conventional about colors like that.
Yes. Well, not all of us, but yes.
Yeah, there's so many. Yeah.
On average, people are.
On that, yeah.
And it affects your mood, and it makes you think that you're wrong. This idea that you're wrong for having joy when people are suffering. It's like, look, people are always going to be suffering.
Yeah.
And if you don't have your joy, then you can't have your resilience. You
Yeah.
need it. You know.
That's right. That's right. You have to have resilience and joy together.
This idea of men crying, though, this is very interesting.
I don't know why. When you said that, I said that's what the thought that entered my
Do you
mind.
mean like crying because we're so, like if I'm a man, I'm so relieved that things are shifting and not everything is on my shoulders? Or what do
I,
you,
I, I don't know what I mean. I mean, if I
that
tried
came
to
up for you?
explore it right now, it would become analytical and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
not.
But what's the picture like? Like, show me the picture visually. Or say,
Just men crying.
are there any particular men?
I mean, I'm sure I would see European men, but
Yeah. Wow.
so
All right, European men. I'm sorry.
you're on notice.
Apparently.
It's gonna be good for you.
Yeah, it could be. It really could be
Yeah,
crying from relief
yeah, yeah.
or joy. Okay.
So
Well,
anything else?
yeah. There's a couple things. One is going to Ostrava with you.
Oh my God, how did that didn't even make it on my list.
That was
That was
really
super.
cool.
Ostrava is a town in the Czech Republic, almost to Poland.
Yeah, basically in Poland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was super fun.
Yeah, we went to Colors of Ostrava together, the Melting Pot
Yeah, they
Festival.
had the best apricots there. Oh my
Oh my God, they would give you these apricots because we were like royalty. They would have a green room, which was
Yes.
really just like a with flowers and fruit, and we felt very special. Give us apricots and grapes, and we would just like save the apricots, save the
Oh,
apricots
they were
because
so more flavorful than apricots that we get here in the
yeah,
States. They
and
were
I grow
delicious.
apricots in
They were
Northern
delicious.
California. They're
Yeah.
better than those. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
so good. So the apricots were amazing. The people were really interested. We both gave a talk together. We gave talks separately.
Mhm.
But the moment that I was so kind of disturbed and amazed by was when I decided to give a talk because I was sick of
Oh
giving the
yes,
same talk
yes,
over and
yes,
over, and I
yeah.
decided to give a talk that was more like a performance art piece. And I pretended I was my 50 years older self, so that I was 84. And I
30 years older.
yes, right. Whatever. I was. I actually had the
Okay.
thought. I actually had the thought. Well, I can't be 54. I'm probably 34.
Yeah. Okay.
I move in time a lot. But anyway, yes, right. 30 years older self. And I asked people to ask me questions, and our hosts warned us, like, oh, the Czech people are they're going to be kind of polite but quiet. They're not going to ask questions. If your whole thing is based on asking questions, they won't do it. And their hands shot up. Like,
Yeah.
what's it like? Are there aliens? Are there
Yes.
what's it like for equality? All these questions about the future, and I just made shit up. And I was there, my belly hanging out, but I was feeling really like youthful because I was 30 years younger. Right?
Ah.
I was in this body of a 30 years younger woman. So I really enjoyed it. I think they like burned the video of it. I don't think the video exists. But it was just a wonderful moment.
Oh my goodness. Now I had on my list, we both went to Belfast
Yes.
this
At
year.
different
And
times.
I really, Belfast was sort of a revelation to me. I love edgy stuff, the kind of crunchier and edgier it is.
Yeah, you told me it was crunchy, which made
Yeah.
me want to go because I thought she meant like granola.
No, I mean kind of like, nothing, things have yet to be smoothed over there,
Mhm.
and
Or pretend to
or
be smoothed
pretend to
over.
be smoothed over, and I like that in a place.
Yeah, yeah, they're figuring it out.
Yeah,
I loved just hiking in the hill. All I did in Belfast was write and hike in the hills
yeah.
and write, and then noticed that there were these beautiful men
Mm.
that looked like they were coming from like, you know, Game of Thrones or something.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, Game of Thrones, so much of it, they used Northern Ireland for several
yeah.
locations. In fact, maybe all of Ireland, as I understand it.
I think so. Yeah, very
Yeah,
misty,
yeah.
very misty and lush.
So are we gonna dance?
What? No, we've got some more 2024 coming
Oh,
up. Plus,
do you have more?
I do. Well,
Okay.
this 2024 memory is based on a 2023 favorite memory,
Okay.
which was going to Oslo and going to the library, which is downtown
Oh, that's right.
near
Yes.
the
Yeah.
ocean.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's on the third floor, it might be on the second floor, but anyway, it's the Future Library. You can Google it. It's an art installation, but it's also a literature installation, and it's fantastic. It's like my favorite discovery of 2023. So it's a small room, beautifully, beautifully designed in like a Norwegian way, sort of cold and elegant or something, and made of wood. And it has these things that look like ice blocks in the walls of this future library. It looks like a block of ice. And inside only a few of them, you can see these manuscripts. You can't pull them out, but you can see that they're drawers. And many of them are empty. So I was like, okay, what's the deal? Well, the deal is this started, I think, in 2014 or something like that. And this artist wanted to have a deal where once a year, the team of people who run the Future Library would choose an author to write a book. And they would give the manuscript sight unseen to the Future Library. They lock it in one of these ice drawers, and it's not opened until the year 2114.
Mm.
So no one reads the manuscripts until then. So it becomes its own library of the future. Okay. This thrilled me as a person who loves traveling in time, mentally at least. And so I started to sort of do a mental future library for 2024. And you want to know what showed up?
Yeah.
Okay, besides what we've been talking about, is the two major recognitions around the world. One, the recognition that we can actually shape AI towards the good. Like we actually can do that, and that
Yes.
is in fact what we want to do.
Right.
And it actually benefits technology corporations to do that as well as everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's exciting. And then the other recognition is the recognition of complexity and change as standard to both nature and human culture. So sometimes there's
Okay.
this.
And now a lot of people already recognize that. So how does this
No, academics recognize
new
some.
awareness, how does that manifest?
It, yeah, so people recognize it intellectually,
Yes.
right? They say, like, look, everything's changing. And they say, look, everything's complex, and they're intellectual about it. And I say, like, great, but look at our structures. Look at our organizations. Look at the way we run governments. Look at the way
Right.
we run everything. We're acting as if this isn't true. And there will be a visceral shift, partially pushed by AI and the choppiness of the changes that AI introduces. There will be a push towards recognizing, oh, we have to change now, and we are changing now. We can't stop the change. The change has taken us over, much like a thought appears in your head. This change appears in the system. So no one has to go through the work of it because it's showing up by necessity. That's like probably my favorite memory of 2024.
Yeah. I mean, it's
You're always doubtful of this
no,
memory.
no, 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 no. It's interesting to me because to the extent that people really start using uh, AI in a productive way,
By productive, that can have a really big definition.
well, productive kind of
For the good,
for the good or more humane or yeah,
beneficial. Yeah.
beneficial.
Yeah.
AI can't help itself. It
Right.
will always remind us that things are complex.
Well, and people can't help themselves. We will always remind each other that things are complex. Like, look at our
Yeah.
democracy, right? Look at how there's these sort of warring
But
factions, but that's
people,
changing.
but so many people yearn for simplicity.
Yeah, I know, but that's a lie. They're not really yearning for simplicity. They're yearning for truth and love. They're yearning for feeling loved as they are, and they think that that's simplicity, but that's actually complexity. and it shifts when people bring in the love and they bring in
Well,
this.
I mean, I accept that what they really want is to feel loved, and I would add respected as they are,
Yes.
and that a lot of
Yeah,
the
respect.
divisions that we have right now in a lot of societies, not just the U.S., is different subgroups do not feel loved and respected.
Right. And that's going to
And
change.
I hope so.
Yeah, let's get in the hopeful space about it
I hope
because
so.
we
I'm
can't
always hopeful.
we can't be it unless we can see it, right?
Right.
And so, okay, so I have a poem before we should dance.
Okay.
It's
All right.
related to this, amazingly.
Good. I like the poems.
Okay, this is Mira, who I believe is a.
What's your card?
Oh, this is my wonderful friend Dan Handelian.
Because it looked interesting.
This
so
is his holiday card. Is a trading card. He and his wife did trading cards, and it's just full of jokes like about him and who he is.
That's fantastic.
He's wonderful. Shout out to Dan Handelian and the whole Oberlin crew around the 1990, 1991, 1989 years. Okay, so this is Mira, who is a woman poet saint of India. So Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs all refer to her poems and love them. So, before I fell asleep last night, I laid awake and wondered, what did I achieve this day just roaming around calling God's name? So I brought before my mind's eye all who I had been kind to, and it turned out to be all things that I had seen. I'd call that one hell of a productive day.
Oh, nice. Yes.
So
very nice.
Ties into productivity.
Yeah, I don't use productivity in the engineering mechanical way.
No, that's productivity.
Yes.
How many people have you loved today? And I would say that you don't need respect if you have love. If everyone felt loved, respect has to do with this idea that there are levels and you're on the higher level, right?
Well, obviously, if you want respect from someone else, or if you feel disrespected by someone else,
it feels like they're putting you down.
It feels like, yeah.
Right, but if you feel absolutely loved,
right,
no one can put you down because what are they? I mean, like they're acting as if there's levels.
Yeah.
And humans matter.
Of course, yes.
Period. You know.
They all do.
Yeah. All right, she's dancing. You pick the song.
Well, I mean,
had to convince Carmen to do
that. Right. Okay. So so you mentioned "Celebrate" by Kool and the Gang, but I'm not so sure about that one.
Okay.
You want me to pick a song?
Well, if you're willing, because I think you're more likely to want to dance to it.
It's not that I don't want to dance. Well, I don't know what it is. It's, maybe I've always been kind of shy.
You're
shy person.
Carmen's shy. You heard it here.
I am a shy person, yes. But let's see here. I'm going to